Okay, inshallah start. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma alimna ma yanfa'na wa anfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna ilman. Barakallahu feekum wa jazakumullahu khair. And apologies for absence, but it's just subhanallah tough due to the time zones and the different travels. But inshallah we will finish this book with idhnillah ta'ala. Inshallah. We will. And Jazakallah khair for showing up. So we're continuing with the devil's deception. We're at section 10. And again, just to review, right, we're talking about different ways that the devil will deceive a believer. We talked about the deception of the rulers, the deception of the lay people. We talked about the deception of the scholars, the deception of so many different people, groups and sects, and so many people. The shaitan is working hard on all of us. And the funny thing is some people don't even realize that he even exists, that he's there, he's present. Right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created shaitan for a purpose. And he subhanahu wa ta'ala, knew that shaitan will do this. A lot of people sometimes don't understand this part. And that it was, something that's Allah didn't make him do it, but he knew that this would do happen. He allowed him to, and it's a test for mankind. And human beings have been warned about shaitan, and we have to do our best to stay away and to fight as much as possible. So section 10 deals with owning only one garment. Some of them only own one garment out of basic ascetics. So we talk about the ascetics, those who divorce the dunya, those who think that this is, the way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they get deceived. They think that some people think that if I do this, this is better. If I sleep on the ground or in this or that, this is better. If I have only one garment, this is better. And then in doing so, they go against the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So for example, here, they only own one garment out of taqwa, supposedly. But it would have been better if they would have had one more for Fridays and Eid, as the Prophet ﷺ said. Why would I be wrong if each one of you bought himself two garments to wear on Friday, other than the one he wears for his work? Right? So it's a simple rule, a simple thing, but it's basically showing us that, okay, sometimes you want to be very pious, very humble, but it's not really in line with what the Prophet ﷺ and he taught us. Right? And to go against the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is like a deception of shaitan. Holier than the Prophet, I call it syndrome. Holier than the Prophet syndrome is something that we experience even today. There's a lot of people who come and give you some lectures and they'll say stuff. And when you analyze that against the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, we find that actually it is a holier than the Prophet syndrome, meaning you're trying to be holier than Muhammad ﷺ. You're trying to be better. You think you're better. Right? And that's what happened with those men who said, I'm going to fast the whole time, not break my fast. I'm not going to get married. I'm going to pray at night and not sleep. And the Prophet said, I do all these things, and I'm like, if you don't follow this way, you're not from me. Right? So it's a deception. They wanted something good. But the outcome is not good because you're going against the Prophet and you think you can do more extreme things. Yeah. Devil's deception of Sufis in matters of food and drink. Iblis was acting, convincing the early Sufis to eat less and not to drink cold water. However, Iblis is now at rest for having to deceive later Sufis. In fact, he was in shock on how much they eat and how lavish they live. So here, I think Ibn Al-Jawzi is making kind of fun of the Sufis who claim to be Sufis at his time, yet they lavishly eat and drink. Again, you can see some of his sarcasm in writing, and most likely he had some encounters with these people right? So he says the ones before, they were deceived and, not eating and drinking. And now there's another extreme where they're eating and drinking. And even though they consider themselves to be Sufis, you understand? So that's, it's funny actually, what this, quite funny how he writes this, because you can tell he's got some personal beef with them. Some of what the early Sufis did regarding this issue. Some of them used to not eat for days until they became weak. Others used to eat food that was not enough to support their bodies, right? So, like, these are extremes. Now, why do they do that? They seek supposedly closeness, their nearness to Allah, but that's not how you find it, because they're extremes. Okay, go up, please. Sahel ibn Abdullah is to buy 1 dirham worth of molasses. Go up, please. 2 dirham worth of margarine and 1 dirham worth of rice flour. He used to mix them all up and make 360 little balls and eat 1 ball every night for iftar. And he used to eat 3 leaves and hay. He spent only 3 dirhams of food in 3 years, subhanAllah, right? Abu Ja'far al-Haddad once spent 16 days with no food or water, subhanAllah. These are, like, maybe we don't even know them that well, but they're Sufis at the time. And even Imam Al-Jawzi showing us, what kind of extreme ideas that imagine having like these small little balls and you only eat 1 a day, thinking that this will bring you closer to Allah. Obviously, actually, you won't, because maybe for some time you'll feel, the fasting effect makes you feel closer. But with time, you become weak. And not just that, Islam is not only about the prayer and the fasting, and that's ibadah, right? And we find that some of the early tabi'een and salaf, and they were actually they're waging jihad. How can you go for jihad if you're this weak, very, very frigid man? You cannot. But of course, the Sufis do not go for jihad because they were, just being so weak, and they were only spending time in ibadah. Imagine everyone would be just eating a luqma or a small piece of food a day, and then they would, not fight. Then, of course, we would have lost the Muslim empire much earlier, right? So, this kind of, extreme examples were given to show, even today, you have some of these people who claim to be these ascetics. Not very many, as they used to be. I think, because of Uber Eats and all this, grab food, and it's easy to, people love to eat. Imagine, and right, like Malaysia, right, such a strong culture of food, right? Makan, right? So imagine that, the Sufis it would be fitna, very difficult for them to stay away from grab food, easy to order. Again, we don't want to follow extremes. We stay into the sunnah, and you can eat food. Don't eat too much where you cannot move. Don't eat too less where you can barely move. You have to enjoy, alhamdulillah, the ni'mah of Allah, and have enough strength to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's it. Let's move up. Okay, refraining from eating meat. Okay. Now, some of them did not eat meat, and they say eating 1 dirham worth of meat hardens the heart for 40 days. Again, they would make up these hadith and these things. But that was not something good. Others used to refrain from eating all good foods. They cited the prophetic tradition, deprive yourself from good food, for the devil circulates in veins more aggressively when eating good food, right? Others used to refrain from drinking clean or cold water, and others used to bury their water bottles in the ground so that the water became hot. And others used to abstain from drinking water for a long time. Abu Yazid said, I complained to Allah about myself, so my own did not agree with me. My own self did not agree. So I decided not to eat or drink for a year. So myself agree with me, with myself more, basically. Yani subhanAllah, again, extreme. The Prophet, for example, some people will see a hadith and then they'll not understand what the Prophet is saying. They'll isolate the hadith and try to come up with a ruling from it. And the Prophet ﷺ didn't eat meat sometimes because there was no meat available for him to eat. And he didn't have money, not necessarily just out of choice. And yes, there's a tradition, a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, and it's reported that Aisha radiallahu anha said that sometimes there'll be, weeks and months, actually a month that would pass, that they would not have fire lit in the house of the Prophet ﷺ. But we find also hadith where when there was meat, the Prophet ﷺ would eat it, especially the shoulder of a sheep. Is something that he preferred and loved, actually. And if someone would offer food, he would have it and share it with people. So we cannot say that he didn't, like meat. This is not right. Right? And if we look at this, down the author included this in his book of fabricated hadith, right? So actually that hadith that was used by the Sufis is a fabricated hadith, or weak hadiths will be used in these fada'il. And some scholars say that it's okay to use weak hadith in fada'il, in like, things about benefits and so on. But the problem is, right, like Sheikh Al-Bani used to disagree with this opinion, rahimahullah, that you can use weak hadith just for fada'il. Because you can still misguide yourself and others by doing these extreme aesthetic things, right? And that's where, some scholars say that you cannot use it in aqidah, you cannot use it in certain fiqh, but you can use it in benefits and fadail and stories and all that. Then again, I know I tend to agree a bit more with Imam Sheikh Al-Bani, rahimahullah, because it's still like fabricated. People can still take it as an example and start changing their behavior, isn't it? Right? So, no. Should stick to authentic things in everything we try to do. Now, let's go down. We can, that's about meat. Let's continue next. Don't want to spend too much on meat. All right, here. Discussing devil's deception of them in these matters and explain the error in them. So, yeah, and it's hard to explain to people that you are wrong, right? And it's very difficult to deal with them and their reasoning and rationale, right? Like, it's hard to refute someone to explain to them that what they're doing is wrong, right? So, yeah, it's reasonable, it's rational that if you eat, you're gonna have enough strength and power to stand up to worship Allah. If you're not gonna eat, you're not gonna have enough strength and power to worship Allah. Now, you cannot overdo, right? Israf, right? In Allah, like, Allah la yuhibbul musrifin. Allah doesn't love those who are excessive and do too much and eat too much. But let's say a person is big and strong and they need to eat. Like, I think it was, I don't know if it's Imam Al-Dahabi, rahimahullah. They said that he used to eat like a rooster a day. He was big and strong, and he would eat like a rooster, and he had many people in his family, and he was a very strong man. So, and he was a man of action. So imagine, he needs to eat. He's a big guy, mashallah. Right? Now, let's go up. Okay, can go up? It's just arguments and reasons as to why they're not eating, such as like, you know, food is risk, and Allah gives us halal and tayyib, kulu washrabu, right? Allah says, eat and drink, wala tusrifu, and do not exceed the limits. Simple. Kulu washrabu, wala tusrifu. And eat and drink and don't exceed the boundaries. Simple. That's the ruling. But again, these people don't read the Quran, and you'll find people till today that they want to be extra pious and more holy than, even what Allah has told us. No. Right? And here we see Allah's Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to eat even, he used to eat meat, especially the meat of a lamb's shoulder. Okay, and it says in Hassan radiallahu anh, he used to buy meat daily. Right? This was how the Salaf were, except those who were poor. Of course, if people cannot afford it, it's a different story. Yeah. Let's go down. Go ahead, more. Again, sorry, stop. There's a criticism here if we go up. Sadly, but again, we find and we learn from this, right? It's enough for us to understand that the scholars did have differences, and sometimes they did take a blow at each other. Okay, and this is the way it is. We'll find people criticizing Ibn Taymiyyah. We'll find Ibn Taymiyyah criticizing people. They're human beings, right? You have to understand that. In the end, they were human beings, and it is what it is. So here he obviously goes and criticizes Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah. He says, I was surprised that Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, the faqih, sunk to the level of these people. He said, a murid, ought not to have sexual relationships and then have something to eat because this will fulfill two of his desires, making it easy for the self to overcome him. Right? So he does take a blow at Imam Ghazali a few times. We've noticed that. And again, they're human beings, and this is what it is. But we understand as students that respect them. Yeah, it's not. Imam Ghazali is talking about. He was talking a lot about the nafs and tazkiyah, and it's not like it's wrong for a person to eat and have intimacy. It's just that he's saying that, it's gonna, when you keep giving in to even doing the halal too much, actually in reality it will overcome yourself. Your nafs can overcome you, right? That doesn't mean that you don't eat and have intimacy at all, but I guess what he's saying here, it's not that you do it all the time. It's that someone who can, for example, who eats a lot and all the time, he eats meat and eats this, and also it's always about pleasing himself, then there could be that you're giving into your nafs too much. That's why we have Ramadan. That's why sometimes you have to train yourself not to allow your nafs to overcome you, or to, even if it's something mubah or halal, right? So in this case, and I would definitely say that in general, if you give in too much into yourself and desires, it could lead you astray. He says this is heinous. Based on this, if a meal contains several types of food, then one should refrain from eating more than one type because each type will fulfill an additional desire. Then drinking water fulfills another desire. I think here again, we don't think that that's what he means. It's just about having limits, I guess. And then, of course, he quotes a good hadith to the Prophet ﷺ, where he ﷺ had relationships with all of his wives in one night. Shouldn't he have had relationships with just one of them? Wasn't it authentically reported that he used to eat cucumbers with dates. These two count as two desires fulfilled. Yeah, and he makes a good point about the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, that he could have just satisfied his desire with one. But it's maybe in this hadith, and we look about him satisfying them, not only himself. So he would visit them in one night, so all of them can be satisfied. Um, right? And with regards to eating two different foods, it's not about like, okay, cucumbers and dates and this. It's about food in general is one desire, right? And maybe Imam Ghazali was only mentioning meat as an example. Allahu alam, yani. But again, it's interesting to see these interactions, these refutations from the imams. Yeah, these murids who used to eat less to have hallucinations and so-called, closeness to Allah. Yeah, this is again like the same thing about spinning and doing all kinds of weird dhikrs. Um, you get into this trance and this self-induced trance, and you think you have revelations. Some of them would claim revelations from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A'udhu billah. This is totally incorrect. Right? Again, anything like that, when you hear it, you're just like, oh my God, like this doesn't make sense. Wait a second, if the Prophet is the last prophet to receive revelation, how can these people claim that they have some form of wahi, and Allah came to me and told me this. And you find in their books, Allah said this and Allah said that to me and this and that and blah, 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 right? Claiming that they saw the Prophet ﷺ and Khidr told them this and that. This is ridiculous. Just by hearing it, you know that it violates the basics of Islam. You know what I mean? But some of them, they do that, like the spinning Sufis, dervishes. They get into a trance of being high, basically. Yeah, just because of that spinning. No, no. Type. Let's go. More. Continue. Let's go down to another section. All right. Sufis and hunger. Another part of that. I mean, he really was attacking Sufis, mashallah. Yeah, like he talks about how they used to order youth to be hungry, and how this can be very detrimental for the youth. Again, I believe there's a balance here, because like for example, in today's society, we munch a lot. It's not about just eating different meals, but people snack a lot. Right? And you kind of like it's a trademark of cattle, as Allah says in the Quran. It says they are like cattle. Actually they're worse. And cattle, if you notice, they always snack throughout the day, always, the whole day, just yum, 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 ruminating. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compares people. Some people deny the message of Allah with cattle. And if we look at today's society, in which people always munch on something. Now, it's not like something haram, okay, that if you eat like something here and there, snacks and this and that. But the point is that that's why fasting is important in Ramadan. Sometimes even if we can fast, some sunnah fast, that would be good, right? Just to get your body used to not always eating. Ahmed ibn Hanbal was asked about not eating enough. He said, I do not like this. I heard Abdurrahman ibn al-Mahdi saying some people did this until they basically became weak and couldn't fulfill their prayer. Right? No. He says, a man asked Imam ibn Hanbal, he for the past 15 years, Iblis has been after me many a time, and I felt his suggestions while thinking about Allah. He responded, perhaps you used to fast too much. Stop fasting and eat fatty foods and attend the sessions of, go up please, the sessions of storytellers. So and have a bit enjoyment, a bit of halal. You have a bit more strength, subhanAllah, right? So we have to be careful not to, because again, it can lead to these delusions and having, visions and so on. And someone used to consume like bad food, like almost like drugs that would lead to hallucinations, right? Um, Actually, subhanAllah, like coffee, right? Coffee was used by a lot of the Sufis and early ulama because it would help them, stay up and study more. So it is a stimulant. And at some point, I'm drinking coffee, and I love coffee because it does help me to have a sharp mind throughout the day. And you enjoy, of course, its taste. But yeah, a lot of the ulama used to use it, and then it was ruled to be impermissible actually because of how it stimulates your mind and it changes your mood. But then, of course, it was again later ulama have permitted it. So yeah, it's interesting that I think there's a museum, the Islamic Museum in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, has a section about the history of coffee. It's quite interesting, mashallah. Yeah. Let's go up. Drinking water. Okay, section 5. Allah's Messenger used to drink pure water, right? He once visited an ill person from the Ansar and said, bring us water that has been kept overnight in the skin, a bottle. Otherwise, we will gulp water by putting our mouths in it without using hands or our bottles. And he used to ask for pure water to be brought to him from the well. Okay, one of the wells, Suqiyah. And impure water causes kidney stones to develop. And water that is moderately cold strengthens the stomach and increases sexual desire. It prevents the blood from rotting and prevents and preserves good health. Cold water is like a ni'mah. It's good, actually. I know that a lot of people, moderately cold water, right? Not too cold. I know that a lot of people say, well, the Chinese drink warm water. Yeah, warm water can be good as well. Hot water, actually. Not a problem. It doesn't go against what the Prophet ﷺ said. But sometimes the cold water gives you a different, refreshing feeling and strength. And warm water has its point as well. Yeah, he's not saying that this is wrong, It's cold water is good. It's a good, and it's a ni'mah actually, especially for the people who live in hot, places. So we have to be careful because warm water, the way we drink it today, it's preserved in like the bottles that we have, and it comes from an actual source. So then that it's healthy. But the way they used to get warm water heated by the sun, it would actually allow bacteria to grow in it. So actually warm water, if it's statutory, it can cause bacteria growth. This is what the point is here. It can even cause leprosy, as they say. Cold water doesn't allow for bacteria to develop. Bacteria doesn't like cold. Right? Some people say, but the Chinese drink warm water. Yeah, but they drink it from a tap. They have these nice little bottles and they do it in a day. In the desert, warm water, very hot water means bacteria. Okay. We see here another blow at Imam Al-Ghazali, right? So I think, yeah. there was definitely some rivalry here between them. Wallahu alam, or again, let's go down. Don't be upset, because I know Malaysians, they like Imam Ghazali a lot. Right? And he's a great scholar, mashallah, but and we have to take things, and some things he said maybe were not fully correct, and it's fine. We can love someone and take benefit from them, inshallah. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Surah An-Nisa, don't kill yourselves, right? This is a qaida rule, meaning some things that are like not good for you, right? So for example, smoking. Okay, very clear example in fiqh. Smoking is haram because of this verse, because we discovered that it can kill you. It kills you, actually. So by this verse, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ, don't kill yourselves, it makes it haram. So I'm like, but everything can kill you. No, there's no research that shows that the prevalence of cancer and death is so high as when it comes to smoking. Right? Drinking also kills you. Now, it doesn't mean that's haram because of that, because people have discovered now that so many people, do drinking and driving, and they, have accidents. But in reality, it is true that a lot of people die, if you look at the statistics, due to alcohol-related incidents. And we see the hikmah of Allah, why He did not allow these things to happen, or it made them haram. Right? No. Let's go down. Continue to the next. Let's go to the next section. Okay. The contradictions. Okay. The Prophet said, Allah loves to see the effect of His bounty to be visible on His servant. Right? فَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. Also, the ayah. So, doesn't mean you show off, but at the same time, doesn't mean you like you should. Alhamdulillah, if Allah has blessed you with something, then it's not that you're showing off, but you take care of yourself. And this is the ni'mah of Allah that's being shown on you. The Prophet ﷺ was not extreme in what he wore and what he did, but at the same time, he would indulge in the halal and tayyib. Nothing wrong with that. These people went to the extreme of claiming things that are not from Islam, right? So, Bakr ibn Abdullah said, whoever shows Allah's bounties on him and talks about them will be called a beloved, okay, Habibullah. And whoever does not show the bounties will be called a hater to Allah, right? Because you should, it's not like you're bragging. And I know here it can be a bit of a sensitive thing because you're like bragging, but no, it's like sometimes when you do well and people see and you're religious as well and people are motivated. Today, people are motivated by these non-Muslims who are so successful. And, like, so they get confused. Like, oh, look, he's successful because he is non-Muslim. He is successful because, how come the Muslims who are religious, they're not successful, right? So especially the youth. Why? Again, my sister was mentioning too about Andrew Tate. Because youth, they gravitate towards that. They see that success. And it is attractive, right? But if a man is religious and has that, that's why so many people are so happy when he became Muslim. Let's see how he does with it. But people are attracted to that. They want to see success. It's something part of the fitrah, right? The Sahabas used to distribute the booty of war because, human beings want these things. They want, to see success or to have success. Material things shouldn't be dominating the heart, but hey, people to an extent they do care about these things. You cannot say that people don't care about material things. You cannot say that it's wrong to care about them. It's okay to have and to care, but not too much. Everything has to be done bil wasatiyah, with balance. Right? That's just the formula. As long as it's balanced, as long as it's sanctioned by the Sharia, it's fine. We shouldn't go to extremes. You know what I mean? So, Yeah, let's move down. All right, so there was deception of Sufis in matters of listening to songs, dancing, and going into a trance, as we said, right? So first, there's two issues with that, right? As he says, it occupies the heart away from contemplating or the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Second, it leads to falling into all kinds of other physical lust, shahawat, mainly sexual, and encourages people to gain more and more sexual satisfaction, even through fornication. The connection between songs and fornication is that songs bring spiritual satisfaction, while fornication brings the greatest physical satisfaction. Okay, so indulging into certain lust will lead to having the urge to fulfill another lust. Right? So when Iblis realized that he'll not be able to make righteous people play musical instruments such as a lute, he convinced them to listen to songs that do not include the lute. His goal is for them to gradually increase from one to the other. Okay. So music obviously is a big issue. People, the world is full of it. Right? People dispute about it and so on, but we can tell by the effect that it has on us that it's not the best thing, right? You know how you feel when you listen to music, the memories that it brings and the feelings that it incites. And it is quite difficult. Funny enough, the Sufis do use music a lot and dancing. And they don't want to eat food. They rather listen to music and dance and be in a trance than to actually eat food, meat, or drink cold water, which is very silly and contradictory, right? Let's go up. No. Okay, so singing. الغني. Scholars have discussed the issue of singing extensively. Some of them consider forbidden, others said it was permissible, and others said it was permissible, but it's like we should look into the nature of something before making judgment, right? So many things are labeled as singing. Some non-Arabs who go to Hajj they sing poems describing the Kaaba, Zamzam, and the Maqam. Listening to these songs is permissible because they do not cause, to go astray, right? Acceleration. This also applies to songs that warriors sing to incite each other to fight. The songs sung by caravan singers to incite camels to walk faster. Right? None of these are wrong. Military songs and right. In many cases, of course, not being accompanied by musical instruments. Actually, the Sahabas used to sing, like when they're digging the trench, for example. Right? Prophet ﷺ had a caravan singer by the name of Anjasha. He told him once, "Oh, Anjasha, take it easy with the pots." So one Sahabi said that we went out with Allah's Messenger ﷺ in the war of Khaybar. One night, there was a man from a nomadic tribe who told Amir, "O Amir, why do you not read your poem to us within this short time?" And he was a master poet. So then he came to read this poetry. Right? There was never any sadness. If not for you, we would not have obtained guidance. We would have not known charity and never have prayed. Let's go down. We ask forgiveness for our lives and give us peace. Our courage stands in the face of the enemy. We are insulted, we do not care. And in a loud voice, we will challenge until the enemy fled. Helter skelter. Right? So the Prophet said, "Who is reading this poem?" They replied, "Amr." Prophet said, "May Allah grant him mercy." Right? Shafi rahimahullah used to say there's no harm in listening to the songs of camel herds and the recitation of the Bedouin. So these are not accompanied with songs. When it comes to like, just like love and all kinds of things that make you feel strange and weak and weird, it has an effect on your mind, right? So something that is like a war song or something that has a benefit in it, it's permissible. And something that makes you feel sad, and because music is so powerful, subhanAllah. Very, very powerful. You know that, extremely powerful, how it brings about memories and all kinds of things. SubhanAllah, it's very, very, very powerful. Now, let's go down to the next section. Just about music. We know the rulings of that, and it's not right now to go over this. Long discussion. Okay. These are the evidences, okay, that singing and wailing is disliked and forbidden, right? And you guys can read through this. Okay, I know that singing and songs is quite big in Malaysia. It's interesting sometimes to see like hijabi sisters performing in front of men playing the guitar in coffee shops. Sometimes I would go and have food with like a friend, just a normal like in Kota Damansara, for example. I remember there was one Makan place, and it's like a band would be inside, and his sister's like the main singer and playing the guitar in her hijab. So forget about music, just you being there and just your voice, and men are looking at you, and I don't know, just it doesn't sit well. You know what I mean? I'm not saying just hide yourself in the jail, but I think this is a bit too much, when and then there's like I saw this. Sometimes they have bands, right? Hijab girls have like these bands and they do these dances. Very famous singers in Malaysia, sisters full of makeup in front of millions of people. It's just you can tell right away, even if you don't have any dalil, that this is not permissible. It doesn't sit well, right? So, right, there's some obviously this is the debates between the ulama on those who permitted singing, so on, and he explains the hadith of Eid when those little girls were singing, and Abu Bakr was upset, and the Prophet let them sing. We have an Eid. No. So people have discussed this. Okay. They say, for example, Ibn Tahir, which is one of the people who might have permitted music. So, well, if the Prophet ﷺ was there, he would have told him this is not allowed, right? Would have told him that this is not allowed. Uh, but this is not showing the permissibility of music that we have today. The music that a lot of people have indulged in. One of the reasons we lost Andalus is because of music and dancing. Of course, they took the opinion of some of the Andalusian scholars who used to hold that music is permissible. And again, there's a difference between singing and music. Singing, you can sing by voice. And as I said, it can, be okay. But when you indulge too much in it, we know we have a culture that is heavily relied upon music and entertainment. And it actually makes people weak, especially like some of the songs of love and, lost and feeling sad and heartbreak, and people lament and people listen and think about it. And it makes you weak, actually. You know the feelings that it brings about. and they cry, and you feel so sad, and you remember your girlfriend and your boyfriend and the haram and all these things, and subhanAllah, you can tell right away that, hey, actually, this is not good. Invoking these kind of feelings, it's not very healthy. It's not very good. So, the culture that we have today is the movies, the Netflix, everything's got some music. And if, as soon as you hear a beat, let's say it's a very upbeat, almost like you feel like dancing, you feel like you're powered up and charged. And as soon as you hear something sad, it kind of puts you down. You feel like crying, you feel like cuddling, changes your mind, and you're upset so much. SubhanAllah. Yeah. No. Right. So again, the Ibn al-Jawzi, he explains these hadith that might be maybe misunderstood by some people to permit music. Right. So you can read through this, inshallah, if there's any doubts. I know again that in Malaysia, and even though Imam Shafi, rahimahullah, in Malaysia is very Shafi, he held music impermissible. And it's not like, if it's permissible, you would do it in the mosque, isn't it? No one does it in the mosque. Um, people have to go outside of the mosque to enjoy or to engage in music. But if it's permissible, then there's nothing wrong necessarily with doing it. So people need to be very careful, and because we are conditioned, it's true. Like, even if someone is listening to music, he shouldn't make it permissible to himself or to others. If you fall into the sin, that's a sin between you and Allah. But to like start giving different rulings and prove it and this and that, it's better to stay away from that. Let's go to the next section. I want you to read this though if you have any doubts about issues regarding to music. In reality, actually, the human beings, they love music. Okay, human beings love music. But at the same time, human beings love intimacy. Right? Doesn't mean that all intimacy is permissible. It's just something that is um, something we have to fight. Right? You have to take the halal. So it's permissible to sing with voice. Right? Music is not haram from that perspective. It's haram when it comes to musical instruments, the beats that you get, and the words that are used in some songs. So today's songs, like a lot of the rap and all kinds of stuff, like has so many swear words and so many bad things. They talk about zina and this and that. Of course, Sani, that's something that is not good. Okay. But if you sing just about something good and motivational, okay, and just without the accompanying instruments, then that is permissible. Okay. Yeah. About ecstasies and leading to a trance. Like there's actually there's a form of music called trance. There's dance and then there's trance. And that's what they usually play at like rave parties, right? Rave. And it takes a person to like a trance. And people take drugs and get into this ecstasy level. Right? Ecstasy is a drug. And yeah, it can really change a person, start acting weird, cannot control themselves. They go to disco, to these clubs, and they engage in this kind of behavior. And again, the outcomes are disastrous. Yeah. Now, let's go down. So in this section, Ibn Qayyim was talking in general, Ibn al-Jawzi was talking in general about music, about food, about things that basically the Sufis will use or not use, depending, to seek nearness to Allah, right? So some of us use music and dancing to be closer to Allah, and others will say, okay, don't eat meat so you can be close to Allah. Right? Now, let's go down. This is just about music again. Okay. Discussing the Sufis al-Wajd. If someone asks, we should assume that these people are honest. What should you say about someone who is unable to control his words? I say wajd begins inside a person. If he repels it, then the devil gives up on him. Whenever Ayub al-Sakhtiani used to become emotional during a sermon, used to wipe his nose and say, how severe is this cold? It's like that feeling that is induced in you where you're like moved to become too emotional. So you can see the scholar used to hold himself and not show people that he is moved so much emotionally. Right? Controlling emotions, being stoic is very important. And not showing people that you're so like, it's kind of like some people, they cry and reciting Salah. And yeah, it's like, yeah, it can happen. Actually, we have descriptions of the Prophet crying and the Abu Bakr as-Siddiq crying till his beard is wet, on Khattab. And the Arabs used to be emotion, have this, but some people have used it now to kind of like show too much emotion. Every time they're reciting Quran, they're just crying. And so, yeah, I mean, some of the scholars used to say it's not the best thing. Okay. If a person cannot control himself, that's a different story. But if they can control themselves, but they allow themselves, then this is yani, subhanAllah. You have to be careful. Okay. To be very careful. Because again, it could be a form of show off. It could be a form of show off. And we've all prayed behind the imams who cry and so on. The person cannot, and sometimes the meaning, if you hear the ayat about Jahannam, a very strong meaning, the person starts crying. But sometimes it's just like, it's like, okay, too much. Let's focus on reading the Quran and Ibadah. Okay, let's stop here, repelling al-Wajd, inshallah. And we'll continue bi'idhnillah ta'ala next week, inshallah. Okay. Barakallahu feekum, and it was good to be back. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.